Hi, this is Kerry, and I'm here to talk about my brain aneurysm journey. And this is part 5. I've just come out of hospital at Greenslopes after having my angio to repair my brain aneurysm, and I got coils and stent. But after I had that done, I actually had complications, unfortunately, and found that my left side went in, it gained paralysis, and it was pretty bad time for a while there. I must admit, during that time, I didn't ever seem to think that I'd never get my feeling back. I always felt that I would be able to get my arm and my leg working. My face also had a little bit of paralysis. It was more like a numbness there, and it left me with just a little slight issue in the lip. But again, I never ever thought, not once did I really ever think that I would not get that back. Um, I felt really confident that I would. I guess I was sort of having a bit of an out of body experience in a way. That's what it felt like. That it was actually happening to somebody else, maybe. I don't know. But it was really an experience at that point in time, anyway. But so after I left Greenslopes, they transferred me in this lovely ambulance with these really amazing, I mean, ambulance people right along. I haven't mentioned anything about them, but I've had some amazing ambulance personnel who have just been so helpful to me and so supportive. And when it's been a really tough time and scary time, they've sort of helped me through. And so this transferred to rehabilitation, which I didn't have a clue what I was going to be, experiencing. I didn't know what to expect at all. Um, they really settled me down, and we had a lot of laughs. We talked about music, which is what I do. Um, so yeah, that was really good. So when we got to St Vincent's Hospital in Brisbane, they took me up into my room, and it was just a lovely hospital. It's kind of at Kangaroo Point in Brisbane, and it's one of those places that is well staffed, really clean hospital, food, everything. Staff are just amazing. I didn't have any issues whatsoever there. Really enjoyed my journey there, actually. So the reason I was there was to try and get my arms and legs working again, so I could actually walk on my own rather than have to be on a trolley, which I'd been on for quite a while. I was still actually on the travelator, as I called it, at that time. So they gave me another one when I got there, and let me settle in. And the next day, I started having my therapy. Therapy consisted of morning sessions, which was to work on my brain, because at the same time I'd been having some memory issues, and also some issues just with looking around. It would give me really bad dizzy spells. I was very sensitive to light, very sensitive to people, noise, that kind of thing. Um, Being in a room full of people at first was really hard. So the guys were great. Um, my therapist, he actually took me into a separate room so that I could just become accustomed to that kind of, really bright light. Um, so we took our time the first day, and we talked about, how I was feeling. So they worked on my emotional side as well. And he also then did a test to see what I was capable of doing. Well, at the time, my hand, I couldn't actually like grab anything. My fingers weren't working, and it was really hard. I found my hands were shaking, my left hand, not so much the right, but the left hand was shaking. And every time I tried to grip something, I'd lose the grip. Um, that was very frustrating, actually. I had, real issues with that. He asked me a whole heap of questions, and the questions that were relevant, like little test, I guess, but things about my memory, my life, knowing those sorts of things, but also then memory tests, which I failed pretty badly. And it's a very daunting feeling at that particular moment when you realize that you have brain damage. Um, I found it really, I actually found it very emotional, and I still feel emotional about that moment because um, it became kind of real then. Um, yeah, it became kind of real. So I then realized that I had a job to do for myself. I had to work really hard. And so, anyway, that day, I went back to my room and they set me up on the travelator and took me for a walk to test me. And then took me down to afternoon session in what I call the gym. And it was just full of beautiful people. I met so many good friends there, people that I'm staying in contact with now because we were all on the same journey. And I know that the first session I had, they just tested my flexibility and my ability to move my legs and arms and things. And that was kind of tough too, because again, I kind of really had to accept that I wasn't working. Okay. But the lady said to me, the therapist said to me that, the fact that I had some movement was a really, really good sign. That meant that I would no doubt be able to get my feeling back and my movement back. So I just focused then. I grabbed a hold of that with both hands, and that became my goal. And so I was still on a lot of medication for pain, a lot of headaches and dizzy spells. So they were giving me nausea pills, and I was taking oxycodone, which was just too much. There was just so many drugs that I'd been on over a period of 3 weeks to a month. And my body was feeling it, not feeling any pain, but it was definitely feeling unwell because of it. So I was there at the rehabilitation unit for three weeks until they could actually get me more independent, I guess. Um, each day I went down, I actually found myself improving, improving, improving. I remember there was this little box of tricks, and it had these little pegs in it. And you had to actually take the pegs out and put them in the hole. And I look at it now and go, easy. My God, it was hard. Um, just to pick the things up like that and then put them in these tiny little holes, I could not get it from there to there. That was frustrating. Then they had this peg thing. They had all these different pegs where I had to reach up to squeeze the pegs and then put them up. Now, we all use pegs, but using these pegs, they were different tensions. So the easy ones were like the yellow to the green to the blue to the reds, I think, to the blacks. And it became harder as you went along. So, but I was also finding that squeezing was the hard part, but then reaching up, it was so difficult. Um, so that's where we started with that. And then I did puzzles, which I like puzzles anyway. They also got me into memory things, which were something that I actually continued after I finished therapy. I use a lot of apps even now to maintain that. And that's been quite good. That's been really helpful, actually. So those are the things that I kind of did. When I got into over the next weeks, and, every day I was doing something a little bit different. I also got into my art again while I was there, which I was so grateful to a lovely art teacher, Christine Butler, who came into the hospital each week and got us all doing some painting. And, like that was a really important part of my healing process in St. Vincent's, because what it actually did was allow me to, you know, get into the things I love. And I know that music and all the creative stuff kind of gets you out of your depression, because I think you all go through a lot of anxiety and depression at this time. And that really helped boost me. And so I got comfortable with the place. I made lots of friends. I became supportive of other people as well, which is kind of what I do all the time in my life. Made me feel good doing that, but it also, we spurred each other on. So by the period of time over 3 weeks, every day I did improve. I really did. I kept getting a little bit better. I went from the travelator to a walker with a seat. And only the last days, they got me on they got me onto a little walking cane. That was a really big thing, that I could use a walking cane. I could actually go upstairs, which was amazing. The hard parts, a little achievements along the way were just pedaling on a recumbent bike. I was so proud of myself that I could get my feet moving. You know, it was just an amazing moment for me. Um, so after 3 weeks, I still had some issues with just sensitivities, and they said that that would probably take me, you know, some time. Some people end up holding on to those sensitivities, but mostly your brain sort of like readapts. It gets used to things. So I again was pretty confident that I just had to be patient, but that was probably the hardest thing that I had to do. You know, just what they call scanning. If I went shopping, like, well, while I was at rehab, just looking out the window, there would be cars going by, and he'd have me looking at the cars and just scanning my eyes, following the car down the highway. And in doing that, I found that really hard because that made me very, very, very dizzy and very sick. So the reason we were doing that was because he said that, you know, my therapist said that when I went home and I just going shopping, looking on shelves would be a difficulty for me, which, you know, I didn't realize, but that really was true. That really was true. But after 3 weeks there anyway, I left, and it was just such an amazing moment to leave the hospital. Scary, but I really felt like I'd achieved a great deal, and I was so proud of myself. And I just thought at the same time how anxious I felt, um, that I didn't have nursing staff around me if something went wrong, or doctors around me. The anxiety then began. It really began because my safety net had gone. And I didn't realize how bad that moment of anxiety would hit me. I'll tell you more about that in the next video. But right now, at this particular time, I, um, I definitely achieved a lot by going to the rehab in St. Vincent's Hospital. And I can't thank them enough because they actually were the people next to my doctors who did the first surgery that kind of, well, saved my life. But the therapist at St. Vincent's in rehab gave me my life back. I'll be back with the next installment very soon.